Well, welcome back to Bible Impact. Well, today we're excited to be able to share with you a new series that we're starting called Having Faith When Things Seem Impossible. And so today we're going to start off by talking about how to walk by faith and not by sight. At the core of our Christian journey in faith, it is the faith in Jesus. It's faith in the redemptive sacrifice of what Jesus has done for us on the cross. And in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8, we read, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God." So we are so thankful that God has given us faith and that He's given us Jesus, and that by faith in Jesus, we receive our salvation. But in this series, we're going to be talking about practical ways that we can walk out our faith in our daily practical lives. And so what is faith? I want to take you to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. It gives us a clear definition of faith. It says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we do about what we do not see." So we see faith can be defined as confidence. It can be defined as assurance of things that we hope for, yet we do not see it in the natural. And so there are numerous stories throughout the Bible that speak about faith, and there's many people that have had faith. And I want to take you to one of those passages found in Matthew chapter 8. It's about a Roman centurion who had faith in a Jewish Messiah for his servant who was lying paralyzed at his home. Now, just put this story in context. This Roman centurion, he must have heard about the miracles that Jesus was doing. Perhaps he even saw some of these miracles firsthand. We don't know exactly how he had begun to have faith in Jesus, but we know that he had faith by his actions. And his actions said, "Let me go to Jesus and seek a request of him that he might heal my servant who is lying paralyzed." And so in Matthew chapter 8, starting in verse 7, we see that the centurion had already arrived where Jesus was. He made this request, "Lord, may you heal my servant who is paralyzed at home." And in verse 7, it says, and this is Jesus' response, and he says, "And Jesus said to him, I will come and I will heal him." The centurion answered and said, "Lord, I'm not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed." In verse 9, it says, "For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard it, he marveled. And he said to those who followed, "Assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel." You see, this man, he had faith in Jesus. He had faith in Jesus' ability to heal. He had faith not only in what Jesus was able to do, but he only needed Jesus to say a word, and then it would be done as he had requested. He didn't need to see Jesus come and lay hands on his servant. He didn't even need to see Jesus in the same room with his servant. He only needed to hear Jesus say yes, to say a word, to affirm that what he was requesting, that his servant would be healed, that it would be done, that he had granted his request. You see, this man was one of the clearest examples. It's a very clear example of a walk of faith, that we walk by faith and not by sight. In verse 13, we see Jesus' response. He says, "Then Jesus said to the centurion," he said, "Go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you." And his servant was healed that same hour. You see, belief was not based on sight. Belief was in the man, not just any man, but belief in the man called Jesus of Nazareth, the one that they called the Son of the living God, that he held within him the power and the ability to do things that were impossible in the human standpoint. He had faith in Jesus' ability to heal. You see, I grew up in a small town of Pennsylvania in the United States. Growing up, our family, we went to a large church At the time, it was a rapidly growing church. And so when we first started attending, they had one facility, one sanctuary, auditorium. And over the years, as we continued to grow rapidly, we had to build on. So we built on to the west, we built on to the east, we built on to the south side. And over the years, we even built on to the north side. And so we built on all of the four sides of this facility. Well, it was in the late 1990s where this church was continuing to grow, and God had given us a great vision as a church to continue to reach more people for kingdom expansion. And so we began to pursue purchasing land all around us. And so by the late 90s, we had purchased the land next door. But you see, the problem was you couldn't just build on this land because it was farmland. It was zoned for farming. And so we had to go through this process of rezoning the land so that we could build on it. And over the course of time, we had no idea how long this journey would take. We thought it would be a few months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But in the end, it took over 10 years before we were able to put a shovel in the ground as a church community. But I remember over those years, over that 10-year period, our pastor would get up and he would share updates of where we're at in the process and what needed to happen. And we prayed and we stood in faith that God would move and that God would help us to see this vision become a reality. And I remember very clearly, our pastor got up and he said, "Can you see it?" After one of these reports, he said, "Can you see it out there in the field? Can you see a beautiful sanctuary reaching thousands of people every week, every Sunday, every weekend to be able to advance the kingdom further?" And he saw with the eyes of faith something that could not be seen in the natural. And he helped us to begin to believe. He helped us to begin to see with the eyes of faith. And so I remember as driving past, I would begin to look over in that open field, and I would begin to imagine a beautiful facility reaching thousands of people every Sunday. Well, the course of time passed, and 2009, 2010, sometime in that frame, God enabled us to pass all of the zoning requirements, and we were able to put a shovel in the ground and to begin to build that beautiful sanctuary. I had already moved to Austria, but I remember that they built this sanctuary, and in 2010, they had their dedication service in the building that was seen with the eyes of faith before it ever happened, before it ever became a reality. Well, I remember personally in 2005, God began to call me to come here to Austria to serve in the full-time ministry. But it was years before that in prayer, the Lord began to show me visions. He began to impart to me dreams. He began to impart to me ideas and pictures and images of things that I would be doing here in the land of Austria. So I knew that God had called me to this land and to be able to have an impact in serving in building the kingdom of God in this nation. And it was that faith to believe. I knew that God had called me. I could see what he was going to be doing. But it was years prior till the day that I actually moved to this country. It was having that faith in God. And I want to challenge all of you, wherever you're at in your journey. Maybe you're believing for healing in your body. Maybe you want to see a new job open up for you. Maybe you're believing for a financial breakthrough. Maybe you're believing for your family members to come to faith in Jesus just as you have. Or perhaps maybe you have a broken relationship in your life that you want to see that restored. I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you to have faith in God. Have faith that God, what he has started in you, the visions, the plans, the dreams, and the things that he's planted in your heart, those things, may you hold on to your faith in God, that what God has started in you, that he will carry it out to completion. I want to encourage you to bring your requests to God. Walk by faith and not by sight. Just as the centurion, just as our pastor, walk by faith, believing, having that confidence, having that assurance that what you hope for will take place. I want to encourage you to position your heart after God, to hold on to your faith, hold on to that confidence that God is able to do that work. I want to leave with you one last passage today. as we're talking about walking by faith and not by sight. And it is found in Mark chapter 11, verse 24. It says, "Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray," he says, "believe that you receive them and you will have them." Well, I want to encourage you to stay tuned in this series. We're talking about having faith when things seem impossible. And so next week, we're going to talk about the walk by faith, not by emotions. We look forward to seeing you soon on the next one. God bless you. Have a blessed week.